bebree no so no nipa no a anase nipa adwumakuo no a hwehwemu no so omu ani bi a na ho okay anase omu interest bi a play a role in the study they are doing na me anim ni se wo ya de na hwe eni ha one kasa researcher no obey carried away by the physical or the public appearance. The most typical example of Ghana ha. Na me ti baby na me so Ashanti region the here na me wo. And now regional elections also take a lot of interesting form. Ashanti region so be kai the last regional elections.
Ameka chema wunti mi koka.
Chema wunti mi ni nua ode ne ho sama no de no kwekwa apia de no. It was an interesting one because there is this general suggestion say and the German election quite a 12 year ma or backward we near. Now, me na research for Libya, Madarubaya, Debetu Muse, and the Saudi Atamaun to me Lusu, like with a landslide victory. I was like, oh, I thought there'd be a general winning Sadan and your family in Yapu. Let me take a quick run through after Ashanti region, what is the main constituencies. Let me try and do one or two research and see. Surprisingly, I found Tamaun to be winning by 57.8%. And me yes, okay, fine, but maybe find some home. But the moment they buy out near another research team, I know so that kind of HS there. I can't as a Kodo Tony Adia to say there's a lesson called the train of school. But my studies have been done with the right people, right design, the right methodology, the right sample. So why am I keeping mind? Let me meet the press and announce. And let me share press no, and I may announce so yeah. Yeah, two abanimie no. Exactly my prediction was the case. And the about saying that research no akaniti they were carried away by the general or the public apparel. And the and number two so no. Yeah, because we cannot do for every voter. Ghana there were 18 million voters now plus. Untimin survey be abenya 18 million in Nani Makasa. Into Noyana usually withdraw a sample. Now I mistake a polling a for be especially Ghana higher the be mehubi. The social most who be. But could be out of curiosity into me pulling the whole report I was surprised. Say number one, Obi draw conclusions based on the sample. Apart from the weaknesses in the sample, conclusions are not drawn based on samples. This is very fundamental statistical law. Person will draw conclusions. In fact, yeah, the samples and the draw conclusions, but you draw conclusions not on sample. I hope I'm not confusing anybody.
Me okay. But just watching.
I mean, the general population is there. You have done and 100, and the echo to about the many 100 Mukasa. I can no, and one say, me say win the baby with this because we be a sort of Nakasa. But when you Munkasa now you sample. Apart from the fact that Ghana has samples of who be a very weak and unfortunate they end up drawing the conclusion still on the sample. And the thing I draw out of all those ones is that the fundamental mistake they are doing is that apart from the sample, that is a problem. They are also drawing conclusions from the sample, which is not supposed to be the case.
Prof, I talk about sample size. To say be a CDD4, almost for the past 10 years, CDD4 you sue is 1,300 sample size, as I said. Bisa, yeah, now what can one semana?
To make a sample, no, let us make a size any technique, boom.
Okay.
But whether the technique or the size, the results that you get should not form the basis for your conclusions. Fundamental law. Advanced statistical techniques and also inferential statistical techniques supporting the data you have so that you subject your data not to those techniques, and then based on that, do inference, statistical inference. No, what free the general descriptive statistics, no now call inferential statistics, and based on the outcome of
analytics, analytics, no.
Analytics crowd, tables and graphs. Analytics for baby, just a table, just a simplified the entire number in a very simple form. It's analytics simple means tables and graphs. But statistical techniques, statistics no define here. You say it is the process of collecting data, analyzing the data, and then bringing out information. I am talking about the analysis. It is the information that can be put in analytics. They say, it's the same information, nobody better tables, so no, they have to nice graphs, visual, and then. But analysis, no, drawing meaning out of the data, no, and then say, I'm for the lose. And the can more be a sample. That sample near weak, say yes strong. Now, make sure weak and strong in Sumu. Number one, say, a sample be a weaker, just and satisfy the minimum sample size. Just a sample near weak. And number two, say any robust, just any representative enough. Sample size, none many about could share with TV so and come over about app. And another say, a woman sample, as it say, yikakra, if you don't like and finding yikakra dear. But I hear a you know, it has, and the sample size, the population size gives you an indication of the sample size. Nipa me 1,000 uyimu 500 and also 300 a year. Nipa me come and 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 10 million. Who's the name cost 500? No, until you increase the sample size in accordance with the population increase. And I'm saying that there is a minimum sample requirement for a given population size. Because we obey obi enemy GH say I Prof bibi say be any sample the no one say nipa dom na say where you move down there. I disagree. As a professor of statistics, I disagree with whoever thinks that.
I even think say beside the sample size no krampo no baby wo yi o mafri no ye no so krampo sa important critical and ambassador
very very critical. There's something Nankasa there home say. It means that people should take their time and understand the concept of sampling, because population interview we will definitely do some level of sampling, but people should bear in mind that the process of selecting a sample is a complex one. It's not as simple as for the minimum requirement required for a population like what we have. 17 million to 18 million voters, no. Media may come over video to say, about a population of a size 17 million to 8 million that we have, no. And you say, where sample size, when your sample size of 16,500, and they could 17,000 nominally. And no, because I know, I mean, we were just on interview. If he was my student in a PhD class, statistics PhD class, I would have proved to him or given it to him as an assignment to go and investigate why, if a population size is 10, the sample size, minimum sample size required should be that which I said. And so, a collective is on common, but may come a few days to say, so what sample size, or population, we are sending away 17 million to 8 million now. Obi a person ya elections research biano. One timia nya sample size krano. Na nye 16,500. And to be a baseline survey am deba no. Na me was sample size of 60,000. 60,000 instead of 16,000 minimum no. I was using a sample size of 60,000. And do you know why? The reason is that so minimum sample size no we are. Emra akasi statistical laws akasi me and settle on me say if you can increase the sample size, continue to increase it, because the larger the sample size above the minimum sample size, the more your data begins to behave like the population. Enti me ni obi sia na wire sample of maybe 7,000. Na me report here next week and am betu jay me was sample size of 100,000 there. Unless there is some biases, but say genuine, me fan say the end genuine. Me say the end genuine na. The mere fact that I have more sample size, you know, makes my results more stable than the results. So then I
Prof, me wa class my pajamas into no me person me
question time. Question time.
Me contribution krampo.
You
wo studio say no mo ye ensia me wa ha da sebre wa ha woten bagels wa ha say no mo faka wa say no mo na dawru enso ha. Wo bana wo so pe aduane a ye pepa na enipa say you think say one a fair representation na wo hia da sebre jedwamna obeka konkonte na momo no wo hia enipa mienu a da sebre beka konkonte ba ko so beka fufuo na je sa apai wo hia enipa miensa out of 6 wa say no ma mienu beka fufuo ama ba ko pe ele beka konkonte na che say the wo come no ya adwo bi come no ya adwo in total said the larger your sample size the fairer the representation becomes. And I'm
yes, absolutely. Yes, no. The law of statistical regularity. Now can't see you know. Yes, the law of statistical regularity. The law of statistical regularity is say sample size is there. Ubetinya the minimum, but unya the minimum the larger the sample size. In fact, the more you increase the sample size, the more your sample begins to behave like the population. And the larger, the better. Sir, Lord, no need.
All right. Yeah, and nyame aduma next week no ye be hwe wanim say resource no ebeba and so we be studio na need the rubber betase na ye dinko but we last report about bonte no na it say just a second bi na if I refresh your mind.
Well, now a baseline survey. Now me try SMECO all the 276 constituencies ni them. Now it wasn't predictive. I know the NHS and the form tier before I'm pending for no maybe few more campaigns I can say nothing. Now it was somewhere in May. Now in terms of party popularity, no. Now NDC apanyo popular. Emma Omo no was no kakra. In terms of presidential candidates in the year. Not the presidential candidate of the NPP, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, more popular and preferred. We use the word preference. Esne, the presidential candidate of the NDC, Mr. John Dramani Mahama. Now, at Nigeria, say, are there in terms of a form organization, not NDC party, no, popular, name on preferred candidate there, and like they were certain direct correspondence said but my defense was that Ghana Matwa Nankatesa Anka presidential candidate of the NPP ain't winning 19 constituencies for Central Region. Emma party no ain't winning only 10 seats in Central Region. Now at this year the parties they need careful. Now say no Obunya campaign both for presidential and parliamentary because it happens from one constituency to the other. Say either the president is more preferred than the party candidate at the constituency, or the party candidate is more preferred than the presidential candidate at the constituency. Now, can remember examples of constituencies and their levels of preference in all the 276 constituencies that we have in Ghana. But Yami Adom, that's the end line survey neighbor. Me sure see benya kwai bebe na ye ho nkomodien manakoso but anope awie ni aya me de any the conversation of sample na lokra ni ntimi anka akwachi because anka memo example of obi reporter me hu ye na o say ahafo party ba ko be wini e fa say bia 60% vote me kokoshe mu no na instead of 6 constituencies Sutify South and Sunafo South. Now my question is, Anya Hekrano, and can be mindful of the historic distribution of the political parties in the constituencies. Nanka, your representation is fairly.
no I de kati man te ho na se wo so obi ka se o se sunafo ana se
aha na me say oh yes sample wo baby to say ahafo regional report number say party back be di nkunim and so we share the methodology ni mu anka na o sample Asutifi South and Sunafo South it abi ni issue no anka no one take care of representation because ahafo ye be a NPP wo mu ennan and NDC wo mu mienu parliamentary and so nobody presidential nimpo NPP wo mu enum 5 out of 6 but you carefully select 2 constituencies currently in the hands of one political and then you draw your conclusions based on that. For me, a statistical abuse and that's a research abuse. You are not being fair to the concept of sampling. You are not being fair to the concept of representation. So, it never be said a Bema fit solution. Elusu in the poll prediction, and now say Bema will be prediction. Abano, I am very, very deceptive. Ada ebestiano, remember a lot of incline. I mean, and your prediction we need na region who and answer yemi do. I am a professor of statistics. Minya ya anka yenye so since I said Jama, we want to use the numbers to rig the election. The numbers are not reflecting the reality, but we have cameras, we have TV, and we throw it out almost every day. Sampling by a research by any daily and now weekly. Human minds are not like that. Human minds changes over a long period of time. Human minds and it's a week. Human minds and it's a day. We are abusing a census, for example. You end it every 10 years. And now every 5 years. An important exercise like census. Ask yourself, why is it that any census we hear every month? What is this? So as a professor of statistics, who says who will win or who says who will not win? Agroni form. Send your say, will be a campaign. Yes, if you are agroni form, multi-mobile research, then yes, we want to use the numbers to rig the election or diffuse the minds of the people or confuse the people. And that's to the reason why there is something called research. We want to use research as robbery source to rob the people's mind or confuse the people or something.
It's a movement stronger than a
Professor Smart Sarpong, senior lecturer, senior research fellow, Kumasi Technical University. And then we say what are the pana back when you say law of statistical regularity. Yea, Nika Din, and Nika swear
the rope a lot. No. In fact, the reality there, send a law, and that's why, yes, as a